Welcome back, everyone, to Season 3, Episode 11 of the Inside the Woods podcast, a Valley News show where every week we have been giving you an inside look at Dartmouth Big Green football as they make their way through the 2025 season. I'm your host, Mike Coughlin.
As the final 10 seconds will tick down in the Big Green, going to pick up a big victory and set the stage. They need a win next week, and they need some help, but the drive for the playoffs still very much alive here for Dartmouth.
That's how it sounded on the ESPN Plus broadcast as the Big Green sealed a 24-14 win at home against Cornell this past Saturday to secure an unbeaten record at Buddy Teevens Stadium this season. The Big Green ground game was key in the win, led by senior running back DJ Crowther, who rushed for 197 yards and 2 scores. Junior quarterback Grayson Saunier added a touchdown and 43 yards on the ground to go along with 122 yards through the air. On defense, Dartmouth had a breakout performance from sophomore cornerback Nike Ratcliffe, who forced a fumble and was tied for the game high in tackles with senior linebacker Zion Freer-Brown with 10. With the win, the Big Green improved to 7-2 overall and 4-2 in the Ivy, which is good for third in the conference. However, with Harvard sitting at 9-0 overall and 6-0 in the Ivy, and Yale at 7-2 overall and 5-1 in the Ivy, with one regular season game remaining, and those two squads facing one another this weekend, the Big Green are mathematically eliminated from any chance at a share of the conference. Despite that, the Big Green still have something to compete for when they buckle their chin straps up in Saturday's regular season finale at noon down in Providence, Rhode Island, when they take on Brown. While the Ivy's automatic bid for the conference champion into the 24-team FCS playoffs is out of the question, they are on the bubble with a handful of teams during one of 13 at-large bids selected by the FCS Championship Committee. Notably, a playoff prediction article from On SI, an affiliate of Sports Illustrated, projects Dartmouth to get the last at-large bid, provided it takes care of business against Brown and if it gets some help, like Harvard defeating Yale. With all that said, there's clearly a lot to play for this weekend, and as always, we have head coach Sammy McCorkle on the show to get his thoughts on his team's latest win and the upcoming regular season finale. But before we talk to Sammy, we're going to head to the hardwood and check in on the men's and women's basketball teams as they begin their seasons. This week, I spoke with men's coach David McLaughlin about his team and how they plan to build off their first win of the season on Tuesday. I also talked with women's coach Linda Cimino to discuss her squad, which has won 3 out of its first 4 games, and how they can keep the success going. Now that introductions are out of the way, let's get to the rest of the show. Joining me on the show is Dartmouth men's basketball coach David McLaughlin. David is in his 9th season as head coach for the Big Greens basketball team. Hi, David. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the time.
So, first, Coach, I wanted to ask, your team has gotten off to a slower start in the win-loss column this season, dropping its first 3 games to Marist, Bryant, and App State. But you guys did pick up your first win last night against UMaine Augusta. What have been your main takeaways from the start of the season, and what are you focusing on as a team to turn some more of your upcoming games into wins?
Yeah, that's a great question. Beginning of the year, you're always trying to form your identity. So what you do as a coaching staff and players, you try and paint what that identity is going to be in the preseason. And, we want to do certain things on both sides of the ball. And, I thought we had a very productive preseason. We had some guys in and out with injuries, and our starting point guard, Connor Amundsen, was out most of the preseason with an injury. And so when we started, especially against Marist, didn't have our full group, but it was still great experience for everybody. So I think the biggest thing is, who do we want to be on both sides of the basketball? So on the defensive end, we're talking about just being a tough team, being able to protect the paint, really have a high level of communication. And I think what we're growing there on the defensive end is we have to do a better job actually protecting the paint, not allowing easier looks from the opponent in the paint. And I think the biggest thing on the offensive end, as we do play at a higher tempo, and we want to move the ball quickly, we want to get up and down the floor quickly, the most important thing for us is to really value the basketball. And I think we've been average at best in terms of valuing the ball earlier in the year. We know we're a good shooting team. We know we have good offensive players. What we have to do a better job is really, really valuing the basketball. So I'd say the first 3 games showed us those 2 things on your end.
Right. And, could you tell our listeners a little bit about some of the players that have stuck out to you early on and you feel like have been making a positive impact on the court for you so far?
Yeah. I think the first thing about our group is I describe them as a player-led group, and I take a lot of pride in that. So with the player-led group, they're the ones that are on the court. They're the ones that are competing. And we do our best during the week and leading up to games to get them ready and paint different scenarios. But that player-led theme starts with our three seniors, Brandon Mitchell-Day, Jackson Monroe, and Jaden Williams, also our three captains. A lot of experience between the three of them, very talented players, and their impact this year is going to really dictate our overall success, and not just their impact on the court, but their impact as leaders off the court and really promoting that player-led environment. You look at our juniors. We have three juniors that are playing now and are top 7 or 8, and three guys that haven't had a lot of experience, and mainly due to injuries throughout their career in the first 2 years, and that's Ben Brown, Nico Abusar in the backcourt, and then Pat Tibnan in the front court. And I think our sophomores, guys that we're really keying on right now, are Connor Edmondson is our starting point guard, who was runner-up rookie of the year in the Ivy League last year, and then Kareem Thomas, who played sparingly last year, but has a much more significant role this year and has been leading us in scoring and just had a terrific summer and is really coming into his own as a player. And then Cam McNamee, a third of those sophomores, who's really in the rotation. So those three classes and those guys are the meat of our rotation, and we need all those guys to really continue to develop for us to be where we want to be.
Right. And, you mentioned, development. You mentioned the seniors you have on the team and your upperclassmen, the juniors, but also, underclassmen, the sophomores who are contributing to the group. As a coach, as you look to, build your program up, just how important is it for maybe underclassmen like those sophomores you mentioned to get this kind of run, as starters and impact performers? And, how big is that for you in your program, to set up for the future?
Yeah, we just had a lengthy staff meeting this morning, and that was one of the big topics. It's just developing our guys. And yes, we have three very good senior players, a lot of experience, but I think what really is going to help with our success is how much those other guys, including the seniors, but in particular those other guys and the underclassmen, how much they continue to develop. With besides Connor, there's not a lot of proven statistical NCAA minutes. So you're talking 4 or 5 guys that we're going to rely on in our top 8 or 9 that don't have a ton of experience but are very talented players. So that development piece, which happens every day, it's not just, let's get on the court and shoot shots. It's no, let's watch some video, let's meet, let's talk about these things. Where are we on both ends of the court? And that's a big part of, we talk about player development and proven development. And that's a big part of who we are as a program is just, building relationships with our guys, using those relationships to be able to coach guys hard, because really good players, in my mind, want to be coached hard. And then by coaching them hard, you can see growth in their game at the same time.
Right. And then finally, Coach, you're coming off a season in which your team made the Ivy Madness tournament for the first time. I know you mentioned valuing the ball, and obviously player development are important, but what do you think some of the biggest keys for your team will be to try and duplicate that type of success going forward?
Yeah, we need to continue to get better every time we step in the gym. Every time we step in the gym, every time we're in the film room together, we need to make improvements, both individually and collectively, players and staff. Very, very important. 2, we need to continue to be a player-led group. I think really good teams, high-level teams, are player-led. And I feel like we have that foundation to make that happen. And I think 3 is live up to our identity on both ends of the floor. And, who do we want to be on offense? Who do we want to be on defense? And then if we meet those, goals or who we want to be, and then we just need to be the tougher and more together group when we step on the court.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining the show, David. I really appreciate it, and I wish you luck going forward.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time, and thanks for doing this for the Upper Valley.
Now joining me is Big Green women's basketball head coach Linda Cimino. Linda has been the head coach of the team since the 2023-2024 season and has her squad 3-1 to open the year. Hey, Linda, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So I said it in your introduction. Your team is currently 3-1 to start the season with wins over BU, Colby Sawyer, and Siena. What do you think has been the key to your squad's strong start this season?
I'm happy with our start. I thought BU especially was a big challenge for us because they have a huge front court with a 6'5" and 6'3" lineup. I think that our players did a really good job buying into the game plan and sticking to the game plan. We've not really doubled down in the post or really dug into the post, and we set that as a game plan against BU, and then I thought we really executed. And then when we played Siena at Siena, I thought we did a good job of really attacking them and getting downhill and getting to the free throw line. So I would have to attribute it to the fact that our players have really bought in and stuck to, what we were trying to do out there on the court. Our single loss was against Albany, and we didn't shoot the ball particularly well. We turned the ball over too many times, and so I thought against Siena and Colby Sawyer, we did a better job of taking care of the ball and making shots and making the extra pass to set ourselves up to get good shots.
Right, and your three leading scorers in terms of points per game, Alexandra Eldridge, Olivia Austin, and Zainab Ozell, are each within about a point of each other, averaging around or more than 10 points per game. What does it do for your team when you can have multiple players like those three who can score the ball on any given night?
Yeah, and they're different positions, right? One's our point guard, one's a wing, and one's our forward. So we've just shown some versatility there that on any given night, any one of those three or even Kate McDonald or Nina Minikazi could come in and be our leading scorers. I think we've shared the ball really well. Alexandra especially is shooting the ball very well. She's put a lot of time in the gym in the summer, and her shot looks really good. And then Olivia has done a very good job of really mastering two post moves, and within those two post moves, she's done a really good job scoring even over bigger opponents. And I would attribute some help with Coach Shelby, our assistant, is really starting to develop our post players. She's a new assistant on staff, and I think she's done a really good job working with our posts. And then Zainab is our point guard, and she can shoot the three. She's not shooting as good as she usually does from the three, but she's getting through the foul line. She's pretty crafty. She can create her own shot. She has a really good hesitation pull up, and I think she's done a good job. And then obviously we have Kate and Nina, and Nina comes in off the bench, and she's our best pure shooter, 3-point shooter. And then Kate just is that blue-collar worker who's just getting offensive rebounds, putbacks. She's shooting 92% from the free throw line right now. So I think basically having the opportunity to have a lot of people put the ball in the basket on any given night, it makes it challenging for defenses to really hone in on who they need to, guard. So if they take away one option, hopefully somebody else can step up and we have another option.
Right. And while you guys have had, success early on, is there anything you're emphasizing with the team that you'd like to clean up or improve upon so you guys can keep your good start going?
100%. There's always room for improvement, and we have a drastic need to improve our turnovers. We are not taking great care of the basketball right now, and we're allowing too many points off of turnovers. Those live turnovers have been an issue for us the last couple of years. So that's an area that we focus on a lot. We spend a lot of time on in practice trying to go against pressure defense and make sure that we make proper decisions. Right now we're still getting used to our offense. We put in a couple of new offensive sets, and so we're trying to make sure that our spacing is good and people are where they're supposed to be on the court. And then obviously making plays in practice against different defenses is helping us to improve that during the games. But I would say that's definitely one area. And then there's always a need to rebound and to improve our rebounding. And we've given up probably too many offensive rebounds and second chance points. And that's an area that we definitely need to clean up. So I would say rebounding, not allowing second chance opportunities off of O boards and cleaning up our turnovers.
Right, and finally, your team doesn't have another regular season game until December 2nd. How are you and the team approaching this layoff so you can pick up where you guys have left off?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, right? We have 15 days in between games, but I like to look at this challenge as an opportunity to recharge, refresh, let our players work on their bodies and their minds. So we have reading day actually starts today and tomorrow, and then we go right into exams. And due to the Ivy League rules, you're not allowed to play over exams. So it's a big chunk right at the beginning of the season, and we're feeling good. We're on a little bit of a roll. So we don't want to stop the momentum, but at the same time, this is a very good high academic school, and we have the opportunity to allow our players, some rest, focus on their studies. We're actually going to do some individual workouts instead of team workouts on Friday, the first day of exams. And so it kind of helps the players, get into their rhythm again. And then we'll start up, full practices on Sunday. But I think it's a great opportunity for us to recharge, refresh, and allow them to focus on their schoolwork before we head into Thanksgiving break. We're giving them a couple of days off for Thanksgiving, and that's a benefit of having 15 days in between games. Like some schools, the players can't even go home for Thanksgiving, or they get one day off. All of our players, with the exception of 2 foreign players, will have the opportunity to go home and see their families for a couple of days. So that's a credit to the schedule as well.
Right. Well, thank you very much again for joining the show, Coach. I really appreciate it, and I wish you luck going forward.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here.
Before we get to Sammy, we're going to go inside the numbers on the Big Green and Brown 2025 regular season finale. If history is any sort of indication, Dartmouth has a pretty good shot at ending the regular season in the win column. Brown has not beaten the Big Green since 2016, and during that stretch, Dartmouth has bludgeoned the Bears on multiple occasions. The closest the Bears have been to defeating the Big Green on this 7-game win streak was in 2019, when the Bears lost by just 6 points. The last 2 seasons, with Sammy McCorkle at the helm, the Big Green have beaten Brown by 28 and 25 points respectively. The Bears, who are 4-5 overall this season and 1-5 in the Ivy, are in the middle of the pack in the nation's scoring defense ranks at 69th, allowing its opponents to score almost 27 points per game. In scoring offense, the Bears are averaging about 25 points per game, which is ranked 62nd. The Big Green enters Saturday in a similar position in scoring offense ranks at 55th, averaging 26 points per game, but they have a strong advantage over the Bears in scoring defense, ranked 21st, allowing under 20 points per game. However, if you look deeper, the Dartmouth defense might have its hands full this weekend, considering that the Bears boast the 5th-ranked passing offense in the country, throwing for 290 yards per game. On top of that, Dartmouth is ranked just 86th in passing yards allowed, with its opponents averaging over 235 yards through the air per game. As I've said before, numbers only tell part of the story, so let's hear from Sammy as his squad gears up for Brown. And now with me for his regularly scheduled interview is Big Green football coach Sammy McCorkle. Sammy's squad finished the regular season unbeaten at home after picking up a 24-14 win over Cornell on Saturday. Hey, Sammy, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Mike, great being on again, my man.
So, Coach, congratulations on the win. You fell behind for a small portion of the second quarter, but then you were able to get a lead and ultimately separate from Cornell in the second half. What are your thoughts from the win?
No, I was super excited. Just was really happy with the way our guys came out ready to play. We didn't play a perfect first half, but we did some things that put ourselves in a situation to be successful and put some points up early on. But I thought our staff did a great job at halftime, making some adjustments, and I really was impressed with the way our players came out in the second half and executed those adjustments.
Right. And, your squad has had contributions from sophomores and underclassmen all season. Sophomore cornerback Nike Ratcliffe was tied for the team high in tackles on Saturday with 10, and he forced a fumble. What did you like from Nike's performance, and generally, how pleased have you been with contributions from underclassmen this season?
No, I'm just really impressed with Nike. He's really worked his tail off to prepare himself for these types of situations. He's just a very football savvy type guy. But I was really happy and pleased with the way he stepped in and the way he's been performing last few weeks. But no, that's something we tell our young guys all the time. You prepare yourself every day in practice because you just never know when your number is going to be called. And you want to make sure when that opportunity arises and you have that opportunity to go out there and perform, you want to make sure you're prepared and ready. And our guys have done a really good job of doing that. And our coaches have done a really good job of preparing those guys. And, a lot of times we put a lot of our younger guys on special teams to give them a little bit of experience in a game type situation. But I really am pleased with the number of guys who have done that throughout the season.
Right, and this week to wrap up the regular season, you head on the road to Brown. Statistically, Brown has the 5th-ranked passing offense in the country in terms of passing yards per game. How are you and the team, preparing for that kind of aerial attack?
It's a huge challenge. They threw it all over the yard. And, they have the number 1 passing offense in the Ivy League, and like you said, 5 in the nation. And their quarterback is, number 1 passing quarterback in the league. So, we got our hands full, but we got to be prepared. We got to, do a good job of making sure that we, don't allow that quarterback just to sit back in the pocket and have all day. But they've got weapons all over. So we've got to make sure that we're in the right spots. We got to make sure we execute, and do our assignments the way we need to. And we've got to make sure we put pressure on them. And we got to tighten our coverage up and we can't allow long drives. We got to, get him 3 and out, get him off the football field, and let our offense control that ball and work it down the field.
Right, and, your offense has pounded the rock the last 2 weeks, to success. Brown enters Saturday's game ranked 7th in the Ivy in run defense. What should fans expect from the offense this week, and how will you look to continue getting the ground game going?
Yeah, we're going to do whatever it takes to win the game. That means we got to run it 40, 50 times, we'll do that. If we got to throw it 40, 50 times, we'll do that. Just depends on the situation and depends on, what they're doing defensively. We be one-dimensional. We've got to be multiple. We've got to keep them on their heels and as best as we possibly can. But yeah, we've got to make sure whatever direction we go that we're prepared to do that. And we've got to do that, preparing that all week to make sure we can do that on Saturday.
Right. And finally, Coach, what else sticks out to you about the Bears as a team, and what will you have to do to come away with a win in the season finale?
They play fast. They play with a lot of energy. They have explosive plays, and they create a lot of turnovers on defense, and they've got a lot of big plays on offense. So we've got to make sure we limit those big plays, and we've got to control the ball. We got to win the turnover ratio, and it's going to be senior day for them at their home field, and so I know there's going to be a lot of energy for them and excitement for them, and we got to prepare for it to be a full game.
All right. Well, as always, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I wish you luck this weekend.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
There you have it. That was Season 3, Episode 11 of the Inside the Woods podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again next week with the results from Saturday's regular season finale against Brown and whatever the fallout from that might be. If you have a question for Sammy, email sports@v-as-in-valley-news.com. That's sports@vnews.com. Emails there will give you the chance to have Coach answer your question on the next podcast. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.